Pro wrestling is forever tied to its carny roots, so you'll always have your Montreal screw jobs, your Black Saturdays, and your steroid investigations, complete with comedy neck brace. We all know the big stories inside and out, and we all have our favourites. What I'd give to be a passenger on the plane ride from hell. But what about the lesser-known scandals in pro wrestling? I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and these are 10 pro wrestling scandals you've probably never heard of. Number 10. Right through the Spanish announce table. Longtime WWE Spanish announcer Hugo Savinovich, he of the collapsible table and the face like a mafia capo, used to have such a significant substance abuse issue that WrestleMania 13 was nearly his last. Faced with impending divorce, social services taking his kids away, and possible prison time, he was close to suicide the night before Mania in his hotel room. Fortunately, he had close friends like Savio Vega, Pat Patterson, and Jerry Briscoe on hand to pull him back from the brink. 20 plus years later, Hugo Savinovich has turned his life around and now travels South America as a minister. Good for you, mate. Number 9. The Luck of the Irish. Back in the 1930s, Dano O'Mahony was promoted as the world's strongest man in true pro wrestling style. He'd been earmarked for the top because of his size and look, and not his talent. Where have I heard that before? With rival promoters looking to double-cross the champion and expose his lack of real skill, Boston promoter Paul Bowser and O'Mahony began to simply leave arenas where they heard rumors that a shoot might take place. Believing that he could control the outcome with two of his boys in the ring, Bowser booked O'Mahony against new client Dick Schickat, and a title match was set for June 1936 at Madison Square Garden. However, as we all know, Dicks do what they want, and Dick Schickat went into business for himself, brutally punishing the champion to win the championship by submission. Within days of winning the heavyweight title, the calculating Schickat put the title up for auction, eventually selling it to Billy Sandow. Number 8. Keeping it in the family. Rock and roll Buck Zumhofe was sent to prison in 2014 for a total of 25 years on 2 first-degree and 2 third-degree charges of criminal sexual conduct. His victim? His own daughter. Over a period of years, beginning when she was only 15 years old, Zumhofe had groomed and molested the girl. The abuse carried on for 12 years and detailed hundreds of acts of sexual misconduct. The crimes were reported by the victim when she finally sought medical attention and therapy in her late 20s. Now in his mid-60s, the likelihood is strong that Zumhofe will die behind bars. Number 7. Not the right way to do business. Edward Bearcat Wright was insanely over in either singles or tag competition due to his legit phenomenal strength, just like me, his charisma, just like me, and his repertoire of flying kicks and top rope moves. Just like, who am I kidding? However, Wright's issues with classy Freddie Blassie have tainted his legacy. He won the World Wrestling Associates top title from Blassie, but upon being booked to drop the title back to him at the end of the year, Bearcat refused. The promoter, Mike LaBelle, was furious and hired his real-life brother, the legendary Gene LaBelle, substituting him for Blassie to sort it all out. Faced with certain and probably humiliating defeats, like a fight between me and Simon Miller, Wright simply opted to no-show the fight and was stripped of the title. However, despite a blackballing from the WWA, Wright's popularity couldn't be denied, and he continued to be a box office draw across the country well into the 1970s. Number 6. Going out with a bang. Herbert Christian Abrams formed the Universal Wrestling Federation in California in 1990, intending to return pro wrestling back to its roots before Vince McMahon's WWF had steamrolled the opposition in the 1980s. Unfortunately, Abrams was as, let's just say, unstable as he was ambitious, and wrestling wasn't the only old-school values he'd like to return to. He liked to hoover up cocaine like no one's business, and as a result, his paranoia was through the roof. Herb Abrams died in July 1996 of a cocaine-motivated heart attack while in police custody. custody. He'd been arrested when police were called to the scene after he began running through his officers stark naked, screaming and destroying everything in sight with a baseball bat. To make matters, well, weirder, Abrams had several barely dressed prostitutes in tow at the time, and his body was covered in both cocaine and a waxy Vaseline-like substance. Well, I suppose if you're determined to go out with a bang, make sure it's a big one. Number 5. The geriatric jackhammer. On the 11th of February 2006, Vincent Kennedy McMahon was in newspapers for something completely unrelated to professional wrestling. And for a change, it wasn't one of his many failed business ventures, not long to the XFL, eh lads, or accusations of dealing in anabolic steroids. No, the man who would regularly play up his in-ring character's infidelities for heel heat was accused of sexual harassment in real life. When a 22-year-old employee of a massage parlor in Boca Raton, Florida that McMahon occasionally frequented called the police to inform them that he'd propositioned her whilst using the facilities at her place of work. Oh, and he allegedly used her phone to take a photo of his junk. In response, McMahon denied the allegations, and WWE's attack dog, Jerry McDevitt, informed Boca Raton police that McMahon hadn't even been in town that Saturday. However, even taking into account the evidence and his vehement denial, the accusations vanished with suspicious speed. Number 4. Manners maketh the man. English wrestler turned Texan star Gentleman Chris Adams, trainer of a young Steve Austin, wasn't that much of a gentleman in real life, although he did invent the super kick. The more you know. In 2000, Adams and his girlfriend at the time were found at a friend's house having overdosed on GHB and booze. Adams would recover, but his girlfriend died half a day later in hospital. While awaiting a trial date, which would likely result in his incarceration, Adams, who'd cleaned up precisely none of his act, was involved in a nasty drunken argument with a fellow wrestler by the name of Brent Parnell, who pulled out a gun and shot him in the chest at point-blank range, killing him. Parnell claimed that some pissed-up roughhousing had got a little bit too personal, and the shooting, he said, was in self-defense. Astonishingly, the court agreed with him, and Parnell was acquitted of all charges. The gentleman's reputation clearly preceded him. Number 3. The original screwjob. Part of the reason for Wendy Richter's exclusion from the, let's just say, revisionist history put forward by the WWE, what are you talking about? This never happened, is due to the manner of her leaving the organization in 1985. Richter made herself rather unwelcome in the boss's office. When he tried to convince her that he'd made her, the star retorted to him that Cyndi Lauper made me. Ooh, you done up now. And so Richter was faced with a title match with masked wrestler The Spider at Madison Square Garden. Nothing ominous here. However, when her opponent came through the curtain, it was obvious to anyone paying attention that this wasn't the Spider. Suddenly, Richter was caught in a small package, and although her shoulder came up at the 1 count, the referee continued counting, awarding her opponent the win and the title. Confused and obviously angry, Richter unmasked the Spider after the match to reveal, of course, her old enemy, the Fabulous Moolah. Not even bothering to change her clothes, the former champion grabbed her things and walked out of the arena and out of the WWF. She wouldn't return until her Hall of Fame induction 25 years later. Number 2. He'll never hitchhike again. In August 2001, William the Messiah Welch, one of Extreme Pro Wrestling's biggest stars, was abruptly fired from the promotion. Rumors at the time had it that XPW's founder Rob Black had discovered that he'd been sleeping with his wife, the porn star Lizzie Borden. Now you've Googled her, can I continue? Right. On the 1st of August 2002, Welch was the victim of a home invasion. 2 men tackled him to the floor, and 1 man grabbed a chokehold, whilst the other used a pair of gardening shears to cut his right thumb off. Managing to fend them off, Welch prevented them from going for their next target, which, from all appearances, was to have been his penis. Wow. Of course, 4 weeks after the vicious attack, the Messiah returned to Combat Zone Wrestling in fine style, delighting fans and proving that pro wrestlers are the hardest/maddest men and women on earth. Number 1. the entrepreneurial spirit that made America great. Of all the performers who chose to go into business for themselves, the greatest entrepreneur of all time has to be the legendary Stanislaus Zbyszko. One of the premier legit fighters of the early pro wrestling era, Zbyszko was a feared man on 3 continents when he was enticed back to the USA by the Goldust Trio, Toots Mondt, Ed Strangler Lewis, and Billy Sandow. Zbyszko was embroiled in the dispute between the trio and their erstwhile ally, megastar wrestler Joe Stecher, aka the Scissors King. Lacking in fresh faces to take on Lewis, the trio were intent on pushing 6'6" former football star Wayne Munn, a decision that angered many behind the scenes. In a situation that would become commonplace in the decades to come, Munn had no wrestling ability to speak of and had been handpicked because of his size and look, and not his talent. Lewis agreeably lied down for the new challenger in January 1925, and a new world heavyweight champion was declared. Munn would go on to squash everyone he faced over the coming weeks. However, on the 15th of April 1925, Munn was due to take on Zbyszko yet again at the Philadelphia Arena. What the hapless champion and the Goldust Trio didn't realize was that Zbyszko had been bought. In the 2 out of 3 falls title match itself, it became instantly apparent that this was a shoot and not a work. Zbyszko ran rings around the huge man, pinning Munn with ease. Zbyszko would be paid $50,000 to drop the title to Joe Stecher on the 30th of May. Sandow's loss of control of his top title was considered a serious public humiliation for the trio, and they were never the same again. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And check out our wrestling podcast by searching for WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon.